Madhava Kunja Vihari Natji ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jai Mapadi Subhadri ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Alright, reading for Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 16, Text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Asya Pratihatam Chakram.
Asya Pratihatam Chakram.
Kritur Amanashachalat.
Kritur Amanashachalat.
Vartate Bhagavan Arko.
Vartate Bhagavan Arko.
Yavatapati Goganai.
Yavatapati Goganai.
Asya Pratihatam Chakram
Asya Pratihatam Chakram
Prthu Ramana Sachalat
Prthu Ramana Sachalat
Vartate Bhagavan Arko
Vartate Bhagavan Arko
Yavat Tapati Goganai
Yavat Tapati Goganai
Asya Pratihatam Chakram
Asya Pratihatam Chakram
Prthu Ramana Sachalat
Prthu Ramana Sachalat
Vartate Bhagavan Arko
Vartate Bhagavan Arko
Yavat Tapati Goganai
Yavat Tapati Goganai.
We'll have one women repeat, please.
Asya Pratihatam Chakram
Asya Pratihatam Chakram
Prthu Ramana Sachalat
Prthu Ramana Sachalat
Vartate Bhagavan Arko
Vartate Bhagavan Arko
Yavat Tapati Gogane
Yavat Tapati Gogane
Asya Pratihatam Chakram
Asya Pratihatam Chakram
Prthu Ramana Sachalat
Prthu Ramana Sachalat
Vartate Bhagavan Arko
Vartate Bhagavan Arko
Yavat Tapati Goganai
Yavat Tapati Goganai
Asya of this king, of Pratihatam,
Pratihatam
not being impeded, Chakram, the circle of influence, Prthu, of King Prthu, Amanasa Achalat,
Namasa Achalat
up to Manasa mountain,
up to Manasa mountain
Vartate,
Vartate
remains, Bhagavan,
Bhagavan
the most powerful, Arka, sun god, Yavad, just as, Tapati, shines, Goganai, with rays of light. Translation: just as the sun god expands his shining rays up to the Arctic region without impedance, the influence of King Prthu will cover all tracts of land up to the Arctic region and will remain undisturbed as long as he lives. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Although the Arctic region is not visible to ordinary persons, the sun shines there without impediment. Just as no one can check the sunshine from spreading all over the universe, no one could check the influence and reign of King Prthu, which would remain undisturbed as long as he lived. The conclusion is that the sunshine and the sun god cannot be separated, nor could King Prthu and his ruling strength be separated. His rule over everyone would continue without disturbance. Thus the king could not be separated from his ruling power. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Vrinda Vanjika Vishnu Jasta Kripa Sindhu Mecha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So first I'd like to appreciate all the residents of New Vrindavan that have been hosting us for their generosity, and for our teachers at GBC College and all those devotees who've organized this wonderful, nourishing and deepening opportunity. And I'd like to thank all my classmates who I've gotten to know affectionately over the last 12 days. So with your permission, I will continue. So here, King Prthu, his influence is being compared to the sun. Just like the sun, there's the sun god, and all the sun rays, they reach to the different nooks and crannies of the world. And as one of our teachers yesterday mentioned, that we should not underestimate the power of influence that one person can have over many. And in the translation, the word chakram, Prabhupada translates that as circle of influence. So King Prthu, he is a Shaktavesha avatar. So his influence is very powerful, and he is aligned with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So much so, he is a Shaktavesha avatar. And in the Brahma Samhita, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he describes Guha as the hidden cavity. So just as the sunshine reaches even up to the Arctic region where no one ever goes, that similarly the Lord, he goes into every nook and cranny of the entire creation, even more so than what the sun rays could reach. He goes into every innermost recess of the heart. And those places there are hidden from the view of every man and every being. So just as the sun is eternally associated with his rays, the Supreme Lord is eternally joined with all the jivas. Right? Now we can see that the sun god, is doing his duty given by the Supreme Lord perfectly. That even one little going off of the orbit could throw so much off, right? So much of just a one little going this way. He's perfectly on orbit, perfectly on. It's described in the Bhagavatam that the orbit of the sun is so important that the sun god the orbit is manifesting time. It's tracking time. It's where time is coming from. So he is a very powerful personality, and just like so many demigods, all of these personalities are working under the order of the Supreme Lord. And they're performing their duties, conducting and maintaining the material world. And so what we've been learning in the past 12 days, it's about leadership. And how are we aligning ourselves with the Supreme Lord in our leadership? And so the demigods, they're aligning themselves, doing their duties. And most importantly is their alignment with the Supreme Lord and their purity. We learned that purity is the force, and quality is quality at the source, right? Rupa told us quality at the source. Prabhupada said purity is the force, and quality is the source. Quality at the source. So our personal realm of control is limited. We can control our actions, our thoughts, and our feelings. Beyond that, there's not much more we can control. But then past our realm of control, we have our realm of influence. So Prabhupada translated chakram as the circle of influence. So we each have our own realm of influence. We can influence people and things that we come in contact with. But attempting to manipulate or control forces outside of our control or influence forces outside of our control is a waste of energy. So one thing that we learned this past 12 days is that we need to be aware of what we are in control of, attentive to that, and mindful in how we influence others. So internally, our main responsibility is our realm of control. So as leaders, as devotees, as those who have committed to the path of self-realization, who have committed to a relationship with Krishna, then our main responsibility is our self and what our relationship with Krishna is, and what is getting in the way of that relationship, and what things we need to work on. There's an analogy of the garden of the heart, right? And Chaitanya Charitamrita is describing that the heart is like a garden where one has the bhakti creeper. And we need to protect that bhakti creeper. We need to put up a fence to guard it from offenses, and which can destroy the bhakti creeper, and also weeds, right? So if anyone's gardened before, you know that once a weed starts growing and it's just small and tender, it's easy to pluck. But once it goes deeper and more rooted and grows thicker, it's harder to get out. And we'll try to rip it out, but the roots stay back in and it'll just grow back again, right? So as leaders, to stay attentive to, as soon as we see, so we should become expert at knowing in ourselves what it looks like. So we'll have these coverings of lust, envy, greed, desire for fame, adoration, distinction, that we know within ourselves what does it look like when envy pops up. Oh, if I'm experiencing jealousy with this one person, what is it about that person that I want? And to really look at it, that's our main job, because no one else will look at it for us. Or we might find ourselves faced in a situation where it will pop up because we weren't looking at it. It'll become apparent within the Sangha of devotees. So our main duty is to really tend to our garden, our heart, and to keep ourselves in alignment with the Supreme Lord, with Krishna. And so I was thinking about staying in alignment. A lot of the devotees go to this one particular chiropractor in Denver. In Denver, many of the devotees go there. And the chiropractor is very assertive about making sure all of her clients are informed about subluxation. And she gives us quizzes. Subluxation is when there are vertebrae in the spine which are off of alignment, right? The vertebrae in the spine. So within the spine is every part of the spine connects to various aspects of the body. And if any of those vertebrae are out of alignment, it will distort or mess up the strong flow of the nerves and the spinal fluid and everything within the core. And so to have that alignment is so essential in nourishing us as whole people, so that we can perform our duties and our services in the cleanest way, and most beneficial way for everyone. And Bhagavinda Prabhu, he mentioned this. There's 4 aspects to look at ourselves. Are we aligned to it? And any of my classmates remember what those 4 were? The 4? Integrity, intent, capabilities, and results. So he gave us a tool to see if in our service if we're aligned, and to rate ourselves on each of those areas. And the very first one is integrity. Integrity means, are we to look inside oneself. Okay, what's going on for me in this situation? Do I feel, am I being pushed by resentment? Am I being pushed by something that's not aligned fully? And that's our responsibility. And that's our main responsibility as leaders, or those aspiring leaders. And the analogy of also that the self is a part and parcel of the whole. And just like the sun has all the sun rays, the sunshine, the particles, we are also part and parcel of Krishna. We are like his sunshine. So we are also potentially illuminated beings. The analogy of when we keep the garden of the heart, we pull those weeds, when we stay aligned, and when we clean the mirror, that we're removing the coverings of our full potential. The soul it is the same in quality of the Lord. So we're different in quantity, but we're the same in quality. So all the qualities that the Supreme Lord has, that Krishna has, we also have those. So all the qualities, like Brajbihari Prabhu was speaking about the Gita values, he gave us a nice list of Gita values by which to, as a compass to guide our service, our life. And so we have all those qualities within us, and it is a matter of uncovering. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that we stay we stay in process constantly of doing that work? Say it and even throw anything out. How do we do that? Japa?
Sadhu Sangha.
Self-reflection.
Sadhu Sangha.
Sadhu Sangha.
Reading Prabhupada's books.
Reading Prabhupada's books.
Chanting attentively.
Attentive japa, attentive chanting. Good. So there's one really nice statement Prabhupada says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Adi Lili. It says in a purport, the soul is a spiritual spark many, many times more illuminating, dazzling, and powerful than the sun, moon, or electricity. It's many, many times more illuminating, dazzling, and powerful than the sun, moon, and electricity. So when we speak about influence, I think Gopal Bhatta Prabhu was saying that don't underestimate how much influence that one person can have. A leader doesn't mean a Kshatriya only. A leader means that anyone who has decided that I don't want to do this for myself, but I want to do this for everyone, for the benefit of everyone, because I know that someone needs to step up. And as purifying as it can be, and as terrifying as it can be sometimes, it is one of the most empowering and purifying services, and it's one of the most nourishing activities, sevas, because it's benefiting all the other devotees and bringing the devotees closer to Krishna when we do that. I found a conversation where Prabhupada was saying that the spirit soul is a person as much as God is a person. Imperson means the covering. Try to understand, the covering is impersonal, not the living being. He is covered. He is not imperson. He is person. Very simple example. So how can God be imperson? The material energy is imperson. So Krishna is a person, and his material energy, all his expansion, it's conducted so perfectly. He's the best manager. He's the best leader. It's said in the second canto of Bhagavatam that Krishna is the leader of all the living entities. He's the leader, right? And he can award all the qualities of his personality unto his devotees. So he's the leader of all the living entities. He's the best manager. And if you see that this entire manifestation, how perfectly it's managed, how is it that all these realms can continue to run so perfectly, all the different representatives, all the different little managers here and there, all the demigods, and you see, just to see the sunrise, it's not only is it happening perfectly, it's happening beautifully. And when we think about in our own services, how do we stay balanced with everything? Okay, just to create an organizational system, which you can see, Krishna has so many organizational systems going on in this realm. There's so many systems in place, so many organizational structures and systems that he has in place. And without those systems, what would it be? It would be chaos. And we can see that the demons, if you'll see any of the demons that we see in Bhagavatam, any of the Shastra, that the demons, when they took charge, things turned to chaos. Right? But you can see Krishna, his systems, his organizational systems and his structures run perfectly and beautifully. They're artistic too. But the sun rises, not only does it rise, from our vision it's rising, but it's so beautiful when it rises, and the movement of the clouds. But it's not just the beauty that's happening, there's also the clouds that are pulling water, and when those clouds are going to another place, Prabhupada says that the water is stored in the clouds. It's perfect, right? So, and he's perfect at balancing unity and diversity. So that's one thing that we also learned this week, right, is unity and diversity. That he's able to be personally present with every living entity and at the same time stay as a whole one with everyone. That he's able to make every living entity completely unique. Not only spiritually is every living entity unique, but also materially. We can see, have you ever seen one person that's exactly the same materially as another? No. Even the body is like each body, even though they're very similar, they're all a little different, right? And somehow, like even people that are born on the same day, the same family, twins, they're different. Well, how is it that there's oneness and difference at the same time is perfect balance? Each person has unique individuality and a unique connection, and they're simultaneously connected. So today is also Gopastami, and I was thinking about how is Gopastami somehow connected to this topic. And I was thinking how in the Light of the Bhagavad, Prabhupada explains this, which Light of the Bhagavad Prabhupada wrote for a Japanese audience who tend to be nature lovers. And he's describing, he translated the description of autumn from the 10th canto in Vrindaban. And he's describing how Krishna was calling the cows each by name. And it said that the previous acharyas explained that he knows every single one by name, and he knows what each one likes. He knows exactly what they like. He knows their specific personalities. And when he calls them with such great affection that they stop everything and run. So he's able to maintain the material world without putting his hands in it. And he's able to be affectionately personal with every entity. How perfect is that? Perfect leader. And there's a section that I just wanted to read from the line of the Bhagavad because it's so appropriate for the time. The description of autumn. This spiritual variegatedness is displayed by the Lord when he descends at Vrindavan. And we may know that the Lord descends with his personal staff of cows. So he comes with his personal staff of cows, cowherd boys, and cowherd maidens. So his staff are his friends, all of whom are but spiritual expansions of the Lord himself for his own pleasures. Thus, when they were called by the Lord, the cows were overwhelmed by joyous affection, just as a mother's breast overflows with milk when the child cries for it. All of us living beings are differentiated expansions of the Lord, but our affection for the Lord is submerged within us. Artificially covered by the mature quality of ignorance. Spiritual culture is meant to revive this natural affection of the living being for the Lord. The ingredients of fire are already present in safety matches, and only mild friction is needed to ignite a fire. Similarly, our natural affection for the Lord has to be revived by a little culture. Specifically, we have to receive the messages of the Lord with a purified heart. So we're like little receptors. We just purify our heart, and from that little culture, purifying the heart, having self-awareness, practicing our sadhana, with a little culture, then that fire can be ignited, the fire of affection, natural affection for the Lord. For spiritual realization, one has to purify the heart and know things in their true perspective. As soon as one does this, the flow of one's natural affection begins to glide towards the Lord. And with the progress of this flow, one becomes more and more self-realized in various relations with the Lord. The Lord is the center of all the affection of all living beings who are all his parts and parcels. When the flow of natural affection for the Lord is clogged by desires to imitate his lordship, one is said to be a maya or illusion. So we are not interested in imitating the Lord. We're interested in imbibing or uncovering those qualities naturally, which we have, those leadership qualities that we have in our service. And so now I'd like to stop and hear reflections from all of you that you might have on the verse or anything that we discussed.
Thank you for the class. I was kind of reflecting a little bit. You're mentioning like creation, how much of a lack of appreciation, the jiva or himself at times we have for structure, taking these things for granted, the sun coming up, the sun coming down, the moon, so on and so forth, and how we're actually being taken care of for. Then I was thinking about how I grew up and how difficult it was just by my own particular nature to be rebellious towards structure, and how I'm coming out of that, being in school or parents or anything like this, but that appreciation for structure and organization is something that, I personally am trying to show more appreciation and gratitude for. At the end of it, Krishna is maintaining everything. So even if we try to start some chaos out of boredom or frustration or pick your poison or whatever, we still have the three modes of material nature checking you. So even within the supposed chaos, there's still some structure within that. So you basically can't avoid Krishna, no matter what you may try to do. But I really appreciate the insight. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thanks. Appreciating the organizational structures that are naturally in place that Krishna has created so perfectly. And how we still have freedom within those structures. There's a balance of freedom and structure and form.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I was just also reflecting on the point that you made about how I really like this point that not only does Krishna organize things perfectly but beautifully, and like we've been seeing all these different like leadership models and that whole thing yesterday and stuff about how to structure ISKCON. And I was thinking that if we really are very well aligned with Krishna, then our attempts to structure our society will also turn out not only, functional, but also beautiful. Like, I mean, even that the picture was like, it was very organized. It was like, made me feel good. Then we can produce something that's beautiful, and attractive, because Krishna is all attractive. So if we just work with Krishna or allow Krishna to work through us, then it's not only Krishna's personal form that's attractive, but everything that's connected to Krishna, everything that's working according to his design is also going to be all attractive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your class and emphasis on the beauty of Krishna's systems had me thinking about Gomata and how Krishna chose her to be the pivot of the entire social system that he designed. And the modern society we live in is a proof by negative to Gomata's position, because there's a lot of science out that says the worst thing you can do for your own body is to eat beef, and the worst thing that's done for the planet is the mass slaughter of cows. So when mother cow is allowed to live in a happy, healthy way, then it's automatically best for the rest of us also. Everything she does is good. And in that way, it's a leadership lesson also, to your point in the beginning about how a leader can't go even 1 degree off without it having a big sweeping effect on others. So because that connection that mother cow is meant to have with society has been brought off many degrees, then we see a lot of negative reaction there. So thank you for this. One question that I had when you were discussing what we can control, that we can control our thoughts, we can control our actions, we can control our feelings. So I wanted some advice on how to control feelings, because that's something in my experience I can accept the feeling is present, but I can't not feel it. So I wanted to hear what you meant by controlling feelings.
Right, control doesn't mean to like grip and hold down. Right, control means more manage. So feelings are natural aspects of the self. As we know, as spiritual beings, we naturally have feelings. So we have spiritual feelings. And when we are come in contact with the material energy, and we have our material yantras that we are in, and our material consciousness that covers us, our subtle body, it's full of feelings. And naturally, that's there. But what we do with them, so Viktor Frankl, there's a quote by Viktor Frankl. It says that between stimulus and response, there is a space. And within that space lies our freedom. So when we experience feelings, we simply witness. We experience them, and then we have that space right there. So sometimes we might have to start out by like fighting that space. And then the more we can find that space, we then create a little more space. More time, like more space. So that we know that, oh, okay, I'm experiencing this feeling right now. Will I act on it? We have a choice. It's not advised to grip or repress them, because they are naturally there. And the tendency is that when they're pushed down, they naturally want to push back. And if we keep pushing them down, they can explode, or they can pervert into something else. So the most effective way to handle them is to allow ourselves to experience them, and then find that space where our freedom lies. That's the choice.
Thank you.
I was appreciating that one point you made about leaders, not necessarily kshatriyas, these people who actually see the need, see what's the needful to be done, and they step up to do it. And we've seen it so many times with so many devotees. I've seen this personally in this week or so many stories. And connected to that, I was deliberating on it, and I was thinking that, yeah, as devotees, we want to serve, and sometimes we have to step up if it needs to be done. But there's always that feeling that, well, but I don't have those capacities of a strong administrator or whatever it is that's needed to do management. But yet, we have the service somehow. So I was wondering if you have any thoughts on that dichotomy of like, oh, we might not have all the skill or qualifications, but the service is needed.
Yeah. Right, well, I would say from this past week, one thing that I learned in relation to that is that we have to see realistically what our capabilities are. Right, just like we see what's our integrity, our intent, capabilities, what's the result. So we know, all right, I'm doing this because I want to serve and help. That's my intention. My capabilities are, this much. We have to look at it honestly and realistically. And then we make effort, and then we see what's the result. And sometimes it's, okay, maybe this is better, I'll find someone to do this. Maybe someone else is better. And otherwise, it's important to continue even if it's not perfect. So in every endeavor, there's some fault, just like fire is covered by smoke. And we know that as we progress, like Prabhupada says, don't criticize the person that's still in the shower. They're getting clean. So we try and make effort. And sometimes if we see that the result is repeatedly a certain way, okay, then we can try to delegate, try to find someone, right? But it is important to, when we do fail, it's important to, there's this, Theodore Roosevelt gives this nice, stay in the arena. There's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt. He says that the critics may yell from the sidelines, oh, look at you, you fell, look how you're failing. But it's in that moment when we're face down on the ground, or like sweaty face in the dirt, it's in that where we can really look and see that if we have the courage to not stay on the ground, but actually look, okay, what happened? What did I do wrong? How can I improve? Right? And then get up again and keep going. And know that unless someone else is in the arena, I might take their critique a little less than I might take someone who's actually in the arena. So it's important to have well-wishers that can help us understand those things. What are our capabilities? What are limitations? Is our effort really worth it? Should we find someone else? Like that. Is that satisfying?
So I was thinking how you were mentioning purity is the force, and I feel that organizational structure works only when from the top there is purity coming down, otherwise you may have an expert organizational structure, and materialistic people also have very organized structure, but they are using that organized structure to kill cows. It's a very organized way of doing things, but without purity everything falls apart. So it's appreciated to see purity is the force, and leaders should be very exemplary in their behavior and their character, free from false ego, like that. So we have the concept of incorporate, we have the concept of servant leadership. Mm-hmm. So the higher you are, the greater servant you are. So that kind of consciousness has to permeate in the leaders, otherwise it becomes like
mm-hmm. Yeah, that the servant leadership means the higher we are, the more we serve. The higher one is, the more one serves. And that the responsibility is greater at that place. And I'd like to take the liberty to add that those that have taken that humbling and purifying and courageous step to actually do that they be given that understanding and compassion too, that although we may not be like Prthu Maharaj, that we are making that effort. Honestly, we have well-wishers that are helping us understand if we really are, and to know that we may not be perfect and perfectly pure, that our efforts do not go in vain, and that we have compassionate well-wishers that can help us stay going on, because it is can be very intense.
Over there. Vrindaban.
Oh, Vrindaban Prabhu.
Is that a new
Hare Krishna.
Very good. So I thank you, Mataji, for such a nice class. You obviously absorbed a lot of what we're trying to learn over the last 12 days. You mentioned that today is Gopastami. So in relation to that, I just wanted to add, it's a very special day actually. This is the day that Krishna started tending the calves. This is the day he actually started doing that. And a few years later, he started tending the cows on the same day. Another very sweet pastime that happened on this day was once when Srimati Radharani was unable to go and meet Krishna. And she wasn't able to meet Krishna because her mother-in-law, Jatila, was barring her from exiting the house. She wasn't allowing her to go out. So Krishna was also in total distress, as was Srimati Radharani, that they couldn't meet. So Subal, Krishna's intimate friend, came up with a plan that let me go there. I'll go there and I'll do something. So he went to Radharani's house and he met with Jatila. He said, Mataji, one of my calves ran into your yard. One of my calves is missing. I think they ran into your house. Can I just look for it? And then Jatila said, okay, go in there, get your calf, and leave as soon as possible. So what he did was he not only found the calf that he was looking for, but he went into Srimati Radharani's room and explained the situation that Krishna is so upset that you're not able to meet with him. So he came up with this idea because Subal and Srimati Radharani both have pretty much the same features. They look almost exactly the same. So Subal said, okay, let me wear your dress and I'll give you my dress. So here we have Srimati Radharani dressed up as a Gopa and Subal dressed up as a Gopi and Srimati Radharani. They switched outfits. And since they look almost the same, Jatila couldn't tell the difference. So this is one of the reasons why in Krishna Balaram here in Vrindaban and many places, Radharani is dressed up as a Gopa. What happened next was Radharani, she took the calf, covering her breast so that Jatila couldn't tell that it was actually her. And she left. It was actually Radharani, but Jatila thought, okay, Subal is leaving. And Subal stayed in the house for that amount of time. So Radharani went out to meet Krishna in the form of Subal with the calf. And just to add some spice to the meeting, when she first approached Krishna, she approached him as Subal also, so she tricked Krishna as well. It's like Subal's coming back without Radharani, Radharani herself is explaining in Subal's voice. Radharani mimicked Subal's voice to Krishna, saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I couldn't get Srimati Radharani. I couldn't arrange for her to come." And he Krishna got into even more of a distressful condition and was weeping. But then once Radharani, in the form of Subal, or the Vaishya Subal, embraced Krishna, he could understand, oh, this is actually Radharani. And he was completely mitigated of his separation. So, happily ever after.
Thank you for adding that. Anyone else? Something to add?
I just want to add, when we were talking about leadership and support systems, because we were young, being trained. So I just want to cite an example from Radhanath Maharaj. Even though he used it in a different scenario, but it can apply to us, that we have a support system that can come under and lift us and let us help us grow. So he gave the example of when a dolphin is weak, that the other dolphins go from the underside and push it up to the top and help to support. So I think in our leadership training we have this culture right now, and it becomes very vivid when you use this example. So it's a very nice, very strong support system, and that can almost assure us of our success in our endeavors. Just want to add that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Vrindasundari Devi ki jai.